I actually joined the Food Safety Inspection Service in USDA in 2003 through a career internship program, and I started in the Public Affairs Division on the media team. Food safety was just an interesting mission. It wasn't what I went to school for, but just the communications aspect and working with the media was really interesting. So I came in the organization right before Mad Cow, so it was baptism by fire. That was really interesting, but that in and of itself provided a lot of really important lessons of just insanity and how to manage a crisis and respond to a crazy media cycle. I was fortunate to have a really great group of folks, a younger team who was really dynamic, which I think is more characteristic of communication shops. But I just learned that you can pitch in wherever there's always work to be done. So I learned to not be quiet and sit in my cube, but rather go out and actually ask to be involved in different projects. I think just not taking things for the way they've always been. And that's very different than what I've seen from some other younger employees in government who just rage against the machine and try to change things. There are always areas for improvement, and I think what I was able to do was look at both sides, understand why things were done a certain way, but also figure out how I could add value or maybe make something more efficient, maybe consolidate processes or figure out what was the best way to tackle a project. So I think having the support from my leadership at the time was also helpful, that they welcomed those kind of ideas. And it wasn't just saying, here's a problem, but there's a problem and here's some solutions that we can choose from and moving forward. So I think a lot of people see errors or flaws, but I think what's important is going the extra step and saying, here's how we can address these. It's funny because there's that stereotype of government, perhaps not being the hot spot and where all the action is, but that's always been my experience. There's never been any shortage of work. There's always something exciting or interesting going on. So it can be overwhelming to be in this massive organization or a smaller division, whatever the case may be, but just to take things one step at a time. Asking for help is something that I think a lot of people just starting out are afraid to do, because especially with the Gen X, Gen Y, we're supposed to know everything. And that's kind of the misconception, but to ask for help and seek guidance is really important, and to find those allies who you can go and talk to when things do start to pile up or you start to feel overwhelmed, and just help understand how to best prioritize tasks, or maybe there's a better way of doing things, because every day should be a learning opportunity, and if you just keep on trudging forward and piling it on your shoulders, you can get lost. The best career advice I ever received was very early in my career. I think I had just made a transition from being an intern to just a career civil servant, and you still have to take your licks and you have to do the work that might not be as appealing or sexy that you really want to be doing, but compiling clips, news clips, or sifting through old files to send out to the archives, but to identify the opportunity to learn something and sharpen some kind of skill in every task you do. So the advice I got was to not resent certain projects or see them as menial, but understand how they fit into the bigger picture and how it supports, your director or the agency administrator or even the undersecretary, understanding that the information does flow up. And figuring out, again, what you can do to improve that and take any knowledge you can from those opportunities. You definitely need someone, I think, who has been through the system or in the system, whether it's a certain career trajectory you want or just someone in your organization that you can find out where to get information. A lot of the support networks that I've had haven't been in my immediate unit, but have been outside, so I can bounce some ideas off of them or get a gut check for something that I wasn't sure if I was kind of moving too fast or pushing too hard. And just having that person or people who you can actually rely on to help you through the process. But also outside of work. Those kind of resources are really helpful. I think It is important to have a work-life balance, and if all you're doing is working, and it's very easy to put in lots of hours at the office, you can get burnt out and you can get jaded. So I think that having the balance and being able to step out, enjoy life, whether it's running or biking or golf or knitting, just find those different things that you can do to keep your sanity. Well, I'm one of those geeks who really loves public service. I think that the mission at Department of Agriculture is one that everyone can support. So I've been very fortunate. I started out in food safety, but now at the department level, we touch everything from forestry to nutrition to rural development. All these things that are so important that for me, it's exciting to learn everything that government does and that we can do to support individuals and communities alike. And I think that people should know that you can make progress and you can innovate within an organization. My position was not digital communication, social media. I was a press officer and said, hey, this is a communication environment. Here's my proposal of what I should focus on to support our mission. And leadership was supportive of that. So I think that as long as you're dedicated, energetic, and willing to actually do the work to figure out how you can contribute, there's definitely a place.